they truly are begging for content. So it would be an excellent thing.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, the fact that it'd be great to have some sort of communication plan, not just about this event, but about the mooring field, and understand all of the different ways that we're promoting the mooring field, promoting the hospitality of this community. And so I sent you and Nicole a whole bunch of photos.
Correct.
And then I'll have that, detail sheet, which will be complete with everything that happened, so that
Okay.
should be a good basis.
Absolutely.
But certainly, we can talk to some of the people who were there.
And Fleming, your wife, she really pulled through for us with the tables and chairs, and
Yes.
and Curtis, you did an awesome job when I needed your help. You were right there, and so I really thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and the whole community.
Yeah.
This was a spectacular event, and I'm so proud of us.
Yay, woo. I mean, I think there are a lot of great takeaways. Mayor, Vice Mayor, I think you mentioned that even though we didn't have quite as many boaters show up, it was the fact that we extended this invitation to them. They knew that they were welcome. We knew that we wanted them to attend. And, I would have loved to have seen a few more people wandering through the nonprofits, but bringing all those nonprofits together is also a win, because
Correct.
they got to network and they got to talk to each other and understand some things that work, some things that don't work, and building that community of nonprofits, I think, is also a win. And the other thing is, we did this in a really public way. It wasn't like we were underneath the bridge, which was a lovely contained event for the boaters, but we did this in a really big public way. So we took some risks. This might not have gone as well as it did, but because we were so organized, it did go really, really well. And people saw, and they came up and they asked questions, and I think we can just do it better and better each time we do it.
Yeah, exactly. The library loaned us these sign holders that all the tables had.
Fabulous.
Unfortunately, I've lost a few,
Uh-oh.
or maybe they walked off. I'm
Oh.
not sure. I'm happy to replace them. I just need to find out where they got them.
I have a box of stuff in my trailer that I was given to me yesterday at the end.
Yep.
Let me check that and see. And if we have them, I'll just run them over to the library.
Okay, awesome. And then with that, I'm happy to go wipe down all the tables and chairs. Were they delivered?
They are getting returned right now, probably.
They are?
They are getting returned today, right
Okay.
now, this morning.
Should I go to
You,
the church and library
you can,
and, okay,
yes. That shouldn't be an issue at all. I can see where they're at.
yeah. I've got a meeting at 10, so maybe this afternoon if someone's gonna be there, or I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're returning them this morning. Like if they're not already returned now, is what
Okay.
I'm getting at. My guys
So they
are
could
doing
be
it
there.
right now, so they'll be there. I think the only one that really needs to be cleaned, like really good, is probably that bottom table. I'm sitting on the ground, but I don't think they're too dirty. I think when we
No.
put them away yesterday, they weren't.
No, I
They
mean,
were fine. I mean,
I
they were
handled a lot of the chairs and tables.
right.
I mean, they were all wiped down prior,
Correct.
and about half of the nonprofits had tablecloths.
Yeah.
Tablecloth.
Right.
But I really don't think it's necessary.
Are you sure?
Yes,
I think we'll be all right, Jen.
yeah.
But
Since you're in the room, I would like to thank you so much for, if you don't mind.
I think he needs to come to the microphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
1 second. I know you're a busy man.
Morning, everyone. How
good
are you?
morning.
Good morning.
I think this thing's working.
There you go.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for helping the nonprofits with parking spots
Absolutely.
and helping the town and helping us. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And that's what we're here for.
And you need to
Public
identify
service
yourself for
first.
the record.
Thomas Yazzo, Emergency Services Director, Fort Myers Beach. And we are public servants first, and that's what we're here for. So,
I was talking to one of your rangers walking in this morning, and he was helpful in putting these protective
Cord cover.
cord
Yeah.
covers. Yeah.
I,
Oh,
I
yeah.
give whole credit to Town Manager Andy Hyatt and Jeff Hoagie, the PW Director, because I forgot we had them. and we were putting cones up and taping things down, and they sent me a text and said, "Hey, we have those barriers." I'm like, "Oh!" So we ran back and got them and put them down. So yeah, it was a good event. I was down for a little while. I did walk through and say hello to everybody, but I couldn't stay. But it was a beautiful event. Looks like a good turnout,
Good.
and downtown was busy, which is really nice for us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone, be well.
Thanks,
Enjoy.
Todd. Yeah,
Great
thank
job,
you.
Curtis.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. About the extra parking passes.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any other, hey, we could do this differently? I have a few things to just mention quickly. You know, I think we need to remember, we don't wanna flood Nicole and other people with, you know, ideas for communication, so let's try and have one point of contact, and if that can be me in the future, that's great. I understand that sometimes we need to funnel things, specific things, and we'll funnel them through Curtis, he'll make sure Nicole gets it, but
Well, Sunshine Law, we need to go right to
Yes.
Curtis or
yes,
to
I think Curtis is
Liz.
always our
Yeah.
first point of contact to get things there. One thing that we did, you know, sort of late in the game yesterday is, you know, Sam walked down to the dinghy dock to make sure that people knew where they were going.
Good
So
point.
I'm wondering if next time we have a sign at the dinghy dock welcoming
Okay.
people, or a person welcoming people and
Sounds good.
saying, gosh, so glad you're here, here's where you go.
Actually, it was helpful, like,
I think that's a
I was
great
down
idea.
there between 1 and 1:30. It would have been a good time, that's about when I was down there. The only issue was reminding people about their 10-foot painters.
Right.
But I don't think, it was full, but there was
10 foot.
always room to squeeze an extra one in there. But, you know, it's full and it is open to the public. There weren't any larger than 10-footers that I saw, and everyone was pretty courteous.
10-foot painter, can you,
Oh,
Elaborate.
10-foot line, so that what they do is you pull up, you tie nice and tight, everybody gets off on the floating dock, and then you let out 10 feet of line, and that way, when somebody else gets ready to come in, they can pull that one away and pull up. There's plenty of dock space to pull up to all the time. And that's the general rule.
Correct.
Excuse my ignorance.
No.
But I wanted to know how many dinghy docks or how many boats are allowed to park in the dinghy dock?
With a 10-foot painter, a lot.
We don't have a
There's no
specific, we don't have a specific number, no. It's just, I've
And that-
seen it
Is that just for
I've
the
seen-
mooring field or is that for anyone?
just for
to
the
use.
mooring field.
Is there a sign?
What do you mean? So you, hold on, I think so you're talking about,
The boat, the.
is there an
dinghies?
occupancy limit for the dinghy dock?
Yes, ma'am.
we don't have an occupancy limit on the dinghy dock. I will say I've seen it a lot. It's been a lot more full than what it was this weekend, for sure. Especially during season.
You don't even, you have a new dock, it's not installed yet.
Correct. And that's on my updates that
Okay,
I'll
sorry.
be talking
I
about,
stole
so
your thunder.
that's gonna be happening very, very soon, so.
Anything else that you'd like
I
to
have
do
one
differently?
suggestion
Yeah.
for drop-offs.
Okay,
If we could have some sort of sign, nonprofits here.
okay,
Because one guy was parked on the sidewalk inside of Snug Harbor's parking lot. And if we could try to convince them to come one direction, which would be hard.
okay,
Maybe the A-frame.
yeah.
Even though the trolley lane isn't ours, it came in very handy.
Right.
But it did
You
work,
didn't hear
you know, worked pretty darn well. I mean, it
Yeah.
No, it was a good
was pretty
event.
smooth.
Yeah.
Ed, anything for the cause?
I had some different thoughts overnight, but it's only been about, if even 18 hours yet, so.
You're processing?
Yeah.
I am too.
I don't wanna steal anyone's, line or anything, but I'm still looking at this at 30,000 feet, so.
Okay. Well, what I will do is I will add a page to the notes that I have been assembling, lessons learned, thoughts for next time, and put those there, and then when we come back together, when the time is right to think about the next event, we'll have sort of a plan. We'll at least know what we did the last time, and then we can build on that, and
I do think, Madam Chair, not to beat a dead horse here, but with all the great pictures you did take, those would be useful next year when we promote it, particularly within the trades and so forth. I mean,
I agree.
that would be something just to sort of tell our story preemptively about what happened last year, so people could have that anticipation for the coming year, so.
And we don't need a drone to take the pictures. We have John King.
Yes, our photographer, thank you,
That took me a
John.
minute, that's
Thank
good,
you,
yeah.
John.
okay.
Will Nicole hold on to those photos and will she put them in some sort of a file, or do I need to keep them on my phone?
I can ask her, but, I'll keep a file
Okay.
on mine too, so
Okay.
we'll have them. I'll save it.
All right, shall we move on to staff reports and updates?
Yes. Alrighty, so, from updates here, so first things first, just wanna let y'all know, I'm still in the process of, hiring one other person. I had a cancellation last week and then a no-show, so we're still in that process of hunting down our third marine operator. So hopefully we'll have that soon. Next is the debris removal contract that's going on right now. We are nearing its end. It's the end date is the 30th of this month. So we are after that we will be in discussion and see if we're going to proceed forward or if it's going to end.
What would help make that decision? What's sort of the tipping point here? Are we done with debris removal or we are not?
So we are in a lot better state where we were in the beginning. We still have debris in canals. The big stuff is what this last 2 months have been about is restoring the navigation to the channels. All the big debris and stuff that's in the middle has been removed. We have a few big items to get before the end, which they are doing now. And so by the end, all the big items should be done. But I think we go down and side scan these canals, all the time after they're done with them and stuff like that. And we're even green canals, we're still finding debris. And I think sometimes that sonar is very good, but with stuff laying just under the mud and laying flat, I think it kind of tricks the sonar system. So we're not really seeing a whole lot, but when the guys walk it, they're pulling out things. So we're going to be in discussion here in the next few days of how we're going to move forward. It'll be if we do get to the point to extend or what FEMA has to say as well, then we'll be presenting the council.
Sam, is the firm that's contracted, are they tracking data on how much debris they've taken up?
Correct, yes, sir.
So when this concludes, it's another great opportunity to sort of tell our story. So I would aggregate that data and talk about how much was removed under this program from the canals, maybe with some additional pictures, and encourage Nicole to put that out, because people are very interested in this, and they're interested in a very positive way. So it's one of those great, nice stories that we need to tell.
I've been in contact with media outlets and stuff like that. They've been doing a lot of stories. Sam just gave me this story that they ran as well last week, and then I know Wink has been running a story there for a little while.
If you really have some time, and Nicole has some time, to maybe there's a couple big items still to pull out. Maybe that last item, you maybe have a little press conference around that, and then release that data of all the debris you've taken up. And
Okay.
I mean, the media, it's summer, it's quiet, they're looking for stories, and it's such a good story.
Absolutely.
It'd be worth telling, and it's great. It reminds people of what we've been through, but it's in a positive way, yeah.
I've already had reporters ask me about the final numbers and stuff like that on the closure.
It'd be nice to keep a mental note of everybody who's done a story, and then maybe call them in for maybe a little press availability or press, you don't have to maybe call it a press conference, press availability, and I think you'll get great response on that, yeah.
Let them
Absolutely.
watch.
Yeah.
Let them come with their
Yeah,
cameras and
absolutely.
watch you haul something up.
Absolutely.
Kurt, back to what we've cleared out. It's my understanding that the channel, navigational channel, is cleared to its previous depth from, not from dredging, but from debris. Is that true, or do we still have some targets in the navigational channels that would be concerns for the size of vessels that go through it?
So you're talking about the draft of the canals, the depth of the
Yeah,
canals?
I'm talking about where we had a, let's say, a 10-foot clearance previously. We don't have any debris that's up to 6 feet or up to,
No, that's the whole purpose of this, is to remove
Right.
that, so we.
but
we-
right now, we are clear for navigational. We don't have any alerts out, any NOTAMs out that says we have problems.
No, we
Excellent.
have, we have marked things that we still have to get, like I mentioned, before closure, that they are getting right now this week, so,
Right.
say by the end of this, we will be, pretty clear for the most part, for what they have done. I mean, we have still debris under there, but it's not causing any
Not
hazard,
causing any,
hazard to navigation or anything like that.
Right. And I'm sure somebody varies from the channel. There's lots of stuff they gotta deal with.
Correct.
But from the channel right now, we have boaters have confidence that they won't hit any debris that's gonna do any damage to their vessel.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Excellent.
Do we have insurance? I mean, are we liable, is the town liable if a boat hits something in a channel? Or in a canal, if they hit something, is it like our responsibility to, I don't know.
No, that's a good question. I mean, are we liable for boaters in our canals, in our back bay, if they hit something, or is it,
I mean, that's on the
Operator
boater,
error.
it's the operator
Okay.
at that point, so
Right.
it would be on the boater themselves if they
Right.
hit or obstruct something.
Yeah. It's very common, Jennifer, for the boating insurance, the insurance on the vessel, to cover such things.
good question.
And then also that, Jennifer, just to, let you know, that's why we make sure that all of our boaters have, updated, insurance on file on Dockwell before they come into the mooring field. It's
Just
more
for
for,
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
correct.
I was just curious, sorry.
No, you're good, great,
Okay.
great question.
Yeah. What else on your report?
All right, so moving next, so dinghy dock, everything's in the works for that. I just picked out the color scheme for the dock, and
What's
we.
the color scheme?
Well, just a gray. It's
Okay.
the barefoot
Wait
gray.
a second.
A gray
No,
color
Wait a
it's
scheme.
like
second.
this color,
Okay.
nothing.
Alright.
It's the same thing of what we have now,
Okay.
pretty much.
Aqua
So,
blue?
we're just waiting for the materials to get to come in right now until once they come in, Kelly Brothers will let us know, and then that'll be the timeline. I should expect the timeline of when they're gonna start the construction and how long they're estimating it until they're done, until completion. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been a long time coming.
Mhm.
That was the first thing that I was hoping to get done or attack when I first started, and with the hurricanes and everything, it's pushed back. So hopefully by the end of this summer, we'll have a brand new dinghy dock, and we should be able to hold a lot more dinghies now.
Will the fishing pier under the bridge, is that included? Will that reopen?
That fishing pier is gone.
Oh, okay.
It's no longer, last year, end of summer last year, there was 2 pilings still there. Kelly Brothers came and removed those 2. We needed that done before the dinghy dock was built, so, because it was kinda in the way there, so,
Getting back to the color scheme, I know it
Yeah.
sounds boring about that light gray, but that is important. It stays fairly clean.
Correct.
And it stays cool.
Well, and I would think if you did a blue, it might blend in with the water and it wouldn't be as visible.
Too hot.
there was a
You want to
tan,
go for a light color, but not white,
Okay.
so it stays clean and it's
Okay.
and it's
Oh.
cool.
There were the two big colors, the three big colors was like a beige, like a tan, and then a brown, and then the grays, the gray colors. So I went with the gray.
Who knew,
I know.
you know?
Now,
Of
I
course,
have-
that's the natural color of the metal also, so there wouldn't be a lot of touching up or anything for
Correct.
paint chipping or anything.
Sorry, Mr. Fleming?
Yeah, I need to leave. I have
Okay.
a Zoom meeting.
Okay,
So, thank you.
thank you, Ron,
Good job. It was fun.
it was very much fun.
Sure.
Or I can drop it off.
Anything else on your report?
You gotta remember, Ron travels
yes,
by
so
bike.
Oh,
I just have a few more
okay, sure,
things to
pardon me.
go
I say
through.
he
with
travels
y'all.
by bike
Yes.
Everywhere.
That's
everywhere,
great,
everywhere.
good for you.
yeah.
Thank you.
When's our next meeting?
It
What,
is,
Monday?
May 26th,
Okay, thank you. See you then.
9 AM.
I do have to leave at 10, so
Okay.
I don't know how long.
All right,
I'm
I think we can,
I'll be,
Yeah.
just a few more things. I just
Yeah.
wanna know what,
Oh,
where
sorry.
we're at, where the,
is Memorial Day.
okay, then not that.
Just,
So,
Mr. Fleming, not that date.
Not that date.
that's Memorial Day, so we'll tell you when it is, okay?
Okay.
We'll let you know.
Curtis will let you know.
yeah,
It might need to be the 27th. I mean, if that,
Yeah.
council's not doing anything that day, we'll check with Amy. Okay,
so just a few more items to just keep you up to speed with. We did get a work trailer or a tool trailer, so we have that at the North Tower. That's huge. Freed up some space for us in our communications trailer where we are the office. So that was a big thing that we got. We should be getting a new F-150 for us to pull some stuff with as well. We'll be sharing that truck with the code department. And where we are at right now with the maintenance of the mooring systems, we are starting to clean the mooring systems now that we're getting into the off season. Started with the back bay, and then we are working our way north up to towards Pink Shell and Bowditch up there. So once a boat leaves off a ball, that's our time to go and clean it and get everything ready. Because right now in the summertime we're going to be occurring a lot of growth, algae, barnacles, that kind of thing. So we want to keep our systems as clean as possible.
and is that work that your team does, or this is what you've contracted out because it involves diving?
No, my team is doing the cleaning.
Okay.
The maintenance side of it and inspecting the mooring systems and interchanging some of the shackles and the rigging that is on the system. That is what the contractors do. But we maintain and clean the systems. I mean, you can call it maintenance as well, is
Okay.
that's what it is. That's what we're doing. So
Okay, but anything that involves diving, they would do.
correct. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
And I think that's it for right now.
That's a quick question.
Yes.
On the Arches proposal, and I asked Frankie this about a month ago, and I can't remember exactly where we're at with that. Is there any kind of synergies between the mooring field and the Arches proposal at this point?
But if there's any talk of us getting in there as an office, is that what you're
Either
getting
pump out, office, just some kind of synergy? Is there any kind of discussion that's currently in the proposal that's pending before the council,
at?
to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I know that it has been discussed that we would like to have an office in there, in the ship stores. That's something that Frankie.
So
has
better,
told me,
better,
so-
better question for Frankie at this point as
Correct,
to whether it's in their
correct,
proposal or
because
not?
Their plan, that's kind of, above my head right now.
That's okay.
so.
I just didn't know I just was curious as to where that was at. I'll check with Frankie. Thank you. Yep.
My understanding from talking to Frankie is that there are some things in the proposal that he has put forward and tried to, have in whatever comes to council, but I don't know the exact specifics, but I do believe pump out and probably the office were two of those
I'd heard
things.
rumors of the office. I just, but I'll check on that. Maybe we'll have a report for the next meeting, because I think the arches may be done by then, so we'll hopefully have some information for the next meeting on that.
Maybe we're talking.
Huh?
We're talking like 2 to 5 years down the road for that.
No,
correct?
I meant in terms of the
plans?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
if
got
the
you.
agreement
Yes.
passes.
I got
you.
Understood.
Whether it's in it or not, and what's in
Coming
it.
to
yeah,
fruition.
Yep.
Understood,
As well.
understood.
Any
Um,
update on the 6 balls?
No,
6
no,
on-
after all this stuff, this contract, this debris removal contract, ACC's done, that's, I wanna get the balls open by next season, that's my goal, so that's one of my main focuses here coming up. One other thing I will, well, two more things, I will say we have, we do pump outs with Pink Shell, or pump off our boat at Pink Shell. We also can use Salty Sam's system now as well. They got theirs up and running. For the past 6 months, we've been helping them pump out their pirate ship and the sightseer. And I did that as a friendly favor for them, so it's kind of helped us out. So we're able to use their system as well. So now we have a system to offload our boat at the end of our mooring fields and then at the beginning as well. So I think that helps us out a lot. So I was happy for that.
Any update on sunken boat at ball number 48?
No, I have not gotten an update on that
It's
as
still
of
in the
recent,
works, though.
and
They're
it is.
still-
It is. It's
Thank you.
tagged. It's still in the works. It's going through FWC and LCSO's process.
Is
So
that the one at the end of Ohio?
correct. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yep. And then one last thing that I will let y'all know about is I have a new boss. So that got changed this past week. My boss now, I'm currently going to be reporting to Thomas Yazzo. He is the emergency response director now. So there'll be some things once we talk next meeting, once we get into the ordinances and changing that and putting the ACC information in our ordinance. It'll be listed as the mooring field will be under emergency response, so that will be added as well when we go to revise the resolution for the mooring field. So, but that concludes my updates. That's all I have for you right now.
Thank you, Curtis.
You're welcome.
Do you have an update on your boat? You ordered a boat?
Oh, yes, we did. So that's, we are waiting right now for the boat builder to put the specific boat on the GSA website. He has other boats on the website, but this one has to be specifically on there per Joe, Onzik. So, that's in the process right now. We're waiting for that. Once that gets updated on the website, we can move forward, but everything's still in line, for the boat. I just don't have a timeline on it yet, so that's why I didn't mention it. But yes.
And then, there's a landing at the end of Coconut? Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
it's Coconut.
Yeah, there's a pier right now. Actually, yes, you're right. So, I'm in the process of trying to, we have some concrete people working for the town right now. Once they get done with certain things, they're gonna come down and they're gonna repave that, boat ramp down at the end of Coconut.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So we have a boat ramp on my street, Miramar Street,
Mhm.
and 2 people have fallen in the past couple weeks.
Okay.
There's dividends or
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
you do.
Mhm. I'm trying to get all of them covered right now, but I gotta go
I
one
just didn't know
step at a
who
time.
to reach out to, so you can help with
I,
that?
yes, I've been hitting that up. I've been trying to get all that done, but I gotta do one at a time. So
Yes.
Coconut's the first one. I think that one needs the most attention right now, and then we'll move.
Okay, we just
our
need to
way.
move because we definitely don't want people falling on town property.
Correct. I know Miramar, that's a very narrow boat ramp. You know, I don't know who's
Well, it's
using it or
for,
where.
a
the
lot of
street.
people use it,
Really?
not even on our street, people put their boats in. It's really, designated for, kayaks and things like that.
Right.
That's really what it's
Okay.
designated for, but it needs some work and.
No, I know.
We definitely don't want it, visitors, falling.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
That's good to know. I'll let people know. that's on the list.
Anything else for Curtis? Jennifer, since you are leaving shortly, do you have anything for member comments that you wanna bring up?
No, just a big thank you to all of you. I mean, you all are amazing, and it was just a wonderful event.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this.
All right, other member comments? John,
I'm good, thank you.
Sam,
I have one very important comment. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Curtis has been here 1 year.
Aw.
And he
Happy
is the
anniversary.
man.
Not yet, not yet.
Pretty close?
5/16.
okay, 5/16, okay.
So, well, this will be our 1 year meeting. And he's everywhere, doing everything, very well liked by all the mooring patrons and obviously all of us. And the media darling, the media interviews him all the time. He's always available and just a great representative of the town. So thank you, Curtis.
I appreciate that, Sam.
Absolutely
Thank you.
a pleasure to work with you, and I couldn't, I don't think we could ask for anyone better than what the job you're doing.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ed,
I don't really have anything. I noticed that the MRF committee, is going to council with some recommendations about dredging. I watched the meeting, the motion was a little bit confusing to me, but, I would encourage everybody to watch that MRF meeting, at least a discussion about dredging. Being that we're marine operations, I think this committee should also be involved with that process,
Exactly.
and,
it's one of those crossover things.
it definitely is.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
But it seems like Chad is possibly more of like the contact person for funding and.
He is. Me and him, so me and Chad work hand in hand on certain projects. Like me and him are working together on this canal debris removal project. And then
So.
if the dredging, once that happens down the road, me and him will both be
Yeah.
involved in that project as well, just like this one. So.
May I respond to that?
absolutely.
Okay. So, interesting enough, I know many people who have lived here for years and years that live on canals. They actually, many people after that meeting came to me, and even before that meeting, said that the town before Hurricane Ian had already said that they were going to dredge the canals. So I was very kind of confused why it was a MRF thing. I understand that we're a Marine Environmental Resource Task Force, but my opinion was this was something that the town had already discussed and came to a conclusion. I'm talking about the town council, and so I was confused by why it was something, but it is what it is.
Is this along the lines, Vice Mayor, of the things that we've been talking about for quite some time about where the responsibility lies for dredging and how to?
I think
accommodate
that conversation should probably continue. I have to confess, I try to watch all the advisory committees, but I did not see that particular episode, so I don't know what the language is that's being proposed, so.
And also, Mr. Adderholt, I would like you to look into finding out what the previous council before Hurricane Ian had already discussed in the plans for dredging.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to say, in all fairness, in all honesty, it's pretty nebulous
Yeah,
in terms, I mean, everybody had a hope and a wish, but there was never any funding to back it up. There was
Right.
always promises of looking for funding by the town manager at the time. But I don't think there was anything
right.
codified. Yep.
And in our last meeting, or not in our last meeting, but a few meetings prior to that, Frankie had come and spoke to us about it. And I believe, he had spoken about whether or not there was funding for it, and so.
Yeah,
that's just
I know
something-
it's on the town's wish list, but
Yeah.
whether that'll be realized or not is still, I think, up in the air. Yep.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Chad's working on it.
Yeah, that's
He is.
yeah,
He
that's
is.
true.
They're I know that I just talked to them before this meeting. They are moving forward with, seeking the permitting process and, going through that avenue with it right now. So once it does get on
Yeah,
council's
the
plate.
chances for a line item from the legislature are minimized by the challenges at the budget discussions at the state level, so I don't
Correct.
think there's a lot of hope for a line item
Right.
appropriation.
And I guess I'm
Yeah.
just confused, if the town council already had, approached this, this plan to do the dredging of the canals, prior to Ian, is that no longer in effect?
Well, I think when you use the term dredging, you're not talking about removing debris, you're literally talking about dredging, right?
Correct.
I don't know that there ever really was. I think there was a desire to either
Okay.
help and assist.
So maybe a
The-
misunderstanding of the
Yeah, I think
community,
so.
thinking that the
Well, there-
town council had,
There was something in place for the Buccaneer Lagoon,
Right.
Yep.
but, yeah, the hurricane destroyed a lot of stuff.
That-
Correct, I
That
think
is
there
one
was
project that
something that
destroyed.
was.
Well, there was a
talked
partnership.
about-
No, that was
I'm
actually
talking
real.
years
Yes.
ago,
Yeah.
maybe like 5 years
But
ago.
the Buccaneer Lagoon example was a real example where the town agreed to pay 50% and then the community paid 50%.
That's what I
Yep,
was.
and that was codified and it was taken out of their water bill in one lump sum, which created some challenges, but after Ian, that money was refunded. And I think we're back to kind of square one with respect to those issues.
It's a private channel, public channel sort of conversation too, who owns what.
That's all public,
Is it all
well,
public?
that
No.
part is.
Okay.
The other canals
Oh.
aren't.
Right,
You're
right,
yeah.
exactly.
I have, good overlook visibility of that, and since Ian, that's gotten much worse. It's almost,
Yeah.
not passable at, certain times of the day, so that really needs
Curtis
to
is
be
aware of
addressed.
that.
You're talking about coming into Buccaneer Lagoon, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying about, yeah, the entrance right there, I am.
We've actually
I
been
am
going
aware.
around the green at
Yeah, on the back side of it,
Yeah.
and then coming back,
If you
just
stay
on
closer to the
on
dock line
on the
over
outer
there.
green, just
Yeah.
around
I
the
got
outer
you.
green, just to get that
Okay.
sandbar is extended so far.
So there's channel
And
and
then-
then there's canal.
And then I also
Which
know
is
the
right.
entrance to that channel on the outside, coming in, that sandbar has gone all the way into
Almost
the
across-
channel.
Almost across the channel.
Um,
That's what
So-
I'm talking about, yeah.
Right.
It's already gone. it's
You're
gone
talking
all
about on
way
the
to
outside before you,
On the
you
outside.
come in to make the bend and then go back into Buccaneer Lagoon, right?
Yeah.
You're not talking about the green that's in Buccaneer Lagoon.
No, I'm
right
talking
by
about the green
entrance.
that's actually in, Big Carlos Pass.
Big
the
Carlos
very
Pass,
first
okay,
one you
yes,
come to.
correct.
Yeah.
And all the neighbors and I, we discussed it, we've actually kind of just been going on the outside,
Outside
cause
of it.
that sandbar's come so far.
Yeah, it's moved, okay.
Yeah, but you gotta be very, very careful about
Yeah,
going on the
cause it
outside.
gets, it's skinny on that
Yeah.
side too.
You know, it's definitely unpassable for,
Yeah.
probably half of the day, depending on where your tide's at. And we see people go aground there all the time. Unfortunately, it's, they do damage to the boat
Right.
quite often.
No, I understand.
Yeah, that's a broader policy discussion. If we can't secure funding, state or federal funding, we're gonna have to, as a community, figure out whether we use the economies of scale and find a vendor that would give a discounted rate to help all the canals. Is there a cost-sharing formula that comes into play? Is that put on the property tax? Does the town assume all the cost? And those who are not on a canal assume part of that. These are huge, challenging policy questions that it needs to happen. It needs to have that discussion because the canals do need help. It's just a question of where do you allocate those costs and how do you allocate them, particularly if you can't get state or federal funding.
Typically, what other communities, what do other neighboring communities do?
Well, I think it's everybody's all over the place. I think because when you dredge a canal too, and you're not talking to an expert here, but what I understand is that you have the repercussions to the seawalls, and then who's responsible for any seawall repercussion if you dredge the canal. So I mean, it's a big
Complicated.
deal. I mean, and I think we're going to have to sit down as a community and figure out how to allocate those costs.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't have the answer, but yeah.
Yes, but I do believe that we do need,
Yep.
discussion.
I think the lure of potential outside help has delayed the hard conversation that we have to have here as a community. And if we can get that outside help, wonderful, because that alleviates a lot of the problems. But whether that outside help comes or not is, I think, still I think that's delaying the conversation, the hard conversation, I think.
Yes.
So to reiterate, I would just recommend, it was a good discussion. There was a lot of different ideas thrown around, and I think it'd be a good idea for this committee to stay updated on
Yeah.
how that's going.
I think this is one of the items that we've talked about probably for a year or so on this committee, and because there is this disremembering, misremembering, oh, I forgot we talked about that. I mean, I would love to just have sort of a one-pager that somebody could put together on, here's what we know, here's what happened before, and here's where we are today.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, shouldn't we maybe, come up with a motion and have you go in front of the council as well as Murph, for that? or no?
Well, I don't think we're at the point, Jennifer, where we have anything to really recommend to the council. I know that Frankie it's very much on his list of things that he's working through, but, I think the first step in my mind is let's just level set on what's real, what are the facts around this, and so then when you have questions from your neighbors, you can say, no, here's really what it is, we're totally aware of this, we've been talking about it for a long time, it's complicated, and we're just trying to figure out what's the best way forward.
Just for the record, again, the entrance to Buccaneer Bay, that definitely gotten much worse from the hurricane,
Correct.
but
It's gotten much worse in the last
But
couple months.
that's where I
too,
was
John.
gonna go.
Yep.
That show constantly builds, and so that channel gets worse and worse and worse. It's not gonna get better on its own.
So, you're talking channel, and I think you're talking canal.
I'm talking about the channel
Right.
into Buccaneer.
Right, so there are
Absolutely
two
that.
kind of different
Just
things.
talking about that
Yep.
in particular
Yep.
is the,
Well, I think what John is talking about goes in hand with these canals, because it's the entrance. If you can't get through there, you can't get into the
into
canal
Right,
at all.
right,
So
right.
it goes,
That's
it
right.
goes hand in hand.
So it's sort of
This
step
is part
one,
of the
though.
same,
Right.
Same
and then
deal with the
back
canals.
there, then there's a lagoon, and then there's canals that
go off of the lagoon, right,
So,
correct.
Yeah,
but if you can't get back there, and
Right.
certainly agree with you about the channels, but if you can't get back there, it's a mess, but.
well, the thing is I think that the waterways are a big economic driver as well as the beach in this community.
I agree.
And, the state or whoever helped us out quite a bit with the beach, and we're just not getting that same response for the canals, if you were to compare the two.
Yeah, again, not to belabor this, but I think part of the challenge is that because the previous town management prior to Ian didn't properly metric and measure the status of the canals, we didn't have that data to go to FEMA to get that kind of help like we did for the beach renourishment. So, and then of course the TDC only has very strict things that they'll reimburse for. So I don't think canals is in their purview. Although if the state legislature is successful, it may be, because obviously Cape Coral has a lot of canals, and if they get TDC money, I mean everything's in flux. But these are great policy questions, and I think even with the channel, John, we had a couple years ago we were trying to get to see if we could use the sand in that channel to use it for renourishment, particularly on the south end, because it was pretty close, and there were some engineering challenges that didn't support that thesis. So I think everybody's got their thinking caps on, and but this lure of help, outside help, has kind of delayed, I think, the hard conversation that we're eventually going to have.
Correct.
And to complicate it more, unfortunately, when John was talking about the loop, that's all intercoastal, it's federal, it needs to be kept open. It stops at the Caloosahatchee, so everything on our back bay is not technically the intercoastal, so
Correct.
there's a lot of stuff we don't qualify for urgency on.
The problem is a lot of those channels going back from, so if you come under the bridge, sticking to the right-hand side of the channel, down the dock line, past Snuckby, all those are private aids. So those aren't federally,
Correct.
federally maintained.
And the
So-
whole back bay is not, whereas coming from Cape Coral all the way to, the other coast, and all the way up to, to Texas and to New York, it's all federal, but it stops at the Caloosahatchee, so everything south, it's a different situation.
I mentioned the TDC because the state legislature is currently discussing legislation that will revoke the concept of a TDC in terms of how it uses its funds, and then basically Lee County would be able to use it for anything they wanted to, as opposed to the purpose of why the TDC was created in the first place. I don't know what the stat, that may not pass, but it's out there and it's a real bill, and I think that the cities and towns folks are very concerned about it.
I'm sorry, the term TDC
The,
means?
the Tourist Development Council, that's basically the bed tax, and it's the entity that then dispenses the funds from the bed tax, theoretically to help those coastal communities where the hotels are and generating the bed tax, again, i.e. beach renourishment, et cetera. So that's, but I think there's some folks in the legislature who would like to get their hands on some of those funds for other purposes as well. And, yeah,
Some information I would like
Yeah.
is.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh,
Sure.
Sorry, John. Some information I would like is, the canals, how many canals we have. Private property are the majority of the properties on the canal private properties? How many of them are rentals, meaning they're conducting their property as a business? That's some information that might be helpful in making some decisions.
Isn't
I
that,
would yield to Curtis on that,
I
but that's a
know,
good
I-
question,
I'm
yeah.
writing it down.
Talking to you,
Yeah,
but I'm.
that's a good
have that
question,
information.
yeah.
I'm talking, I'm asking
yeah.
us as a community.
And
Yeah.
we put
Can I
that
ask
on
you a
our
question?
fact
Yeah,
sheet
sure.
so that we know this
Exactly.
information.
And Ted knows a lot about that
Okay.
as well, so next meeting we can
Okay.
get into
but
that.
even with,
and-
Tropical Shores possibly, when the past discussion about building a facility there, didn't the town run into some problems with underwater land lease, and there was an owner that owned?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. There were, I think, it's the riparian rights that were disputed and so forth. In fact, I lived on Tropical Shores Ways, and I was renting there, and the owners of our home had been at war with this entity that owned the parts of the canal, the rights of the canal. Even to repair your own pier or your dock, you had to go to this entity, and they would, I hate to use the word extort, but I can't think of a better word, extort money from you in order to be able to repair your own dock. And that's unusual. I think that's, there's just a few of those canals run into those challenges, but that is and was a real problem.
If you go to LIPA, I think I showed a few of you, if you go to LIPA, and I don't know what this really means, but if you light up all the property owners, 90% of the canals are owned by the associations, or at least it comes up under their name, so I'm not sure, what's involved in, getting people to sign off on that, and, how significant that is, or how, what it even means. But if you go to the property appraiser, some of the canals have nothing. That just means they're waterway, but most of them were owned by the associations because they were all dredged out at one time.
And to
From
be honest,
nothing.
I opposed, the, motion that Murph, put up. And I have lots of friends on canals, and I do agree they need dredging, or they need some help. But, I don't know enough, to be honest, with anybody. I don't know enough about it, and I wanna learn, I do, but,
Go to
there's a lot of-
lepa.org and
No,
light it up.
I
No, and
understand,
you'll see what
I
I'm talking
understand,
about the private.
I'm also an environmentalist, and I also see opposition to dredging. So, just to be transparent with all of you, that's, something that I feel, so.
And there's a couple things about dredging. There's two options. You can either create a spoil area. I know when they did Laguna Shores last time, they did not do a spoil area. Instead, they went to land. They took the spoil and they went to land and they trucked it off. So that's one of the things that helped. I think it was environmentally, is why they did that. And it didn't match, and the sand didn't match where they wanted to drop it.
Yeah.
That was, I think, what you're talking
Could
about.
have been too many shells in it too, I can't remember.
Yeah, wrong kind of soil,
Yeah.
or too muddy or
Yeah.
something.
Also, when dredging, there's a lot of sediment that gets dispersed, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
can cause all kinds of issues for wildlife and our manatees and sea turtles and.
We have a new issue. The new issue is when this gets dredged up, it used to be there's oil and stuff on the bottom. we have a whole hurricane full of everybody's chemicals from their garages
Yes,
and
sir.
their yards and their
Mhm,
vehicles.
Yes, sir.
So that will be a lot worse, more of a problem once that gets stirred up.
Right.
But most likely a temporary problem.
But it'll have
Right.
to be addressed.
Yes. And listen, I'm gonna confess, I'm sorry, I just remembered that, I told y'all that I would bring the, my, monthly
Oh,
revenue reports and what voters I have in the field, capacity and all that, just from the event. I did not get to print that out, but starting
think
next
that's understandable.
meeting, I'll make sure that I have that moving forward for
Yes.
every monthly,
Ted would have asked
meeting.
you about that.
I know he would have, I know.
Okay. Do you need to go, Jennifer?
I do, but
Okay.
I'm gonna stick around.
Okay, all right. Just, do you have any more comments?
No, no,
I
that was
have-
it, thank you.
Do you
I have
anything?
nothing additional, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to give a few thoughts about the sunshine training that most of us here went through. I think Sam was the only one from our committee who wasn't there, but
And
you've been through it before.
I watched it on YouTube.
You watched it on YouTube, okay, perfect. So just a few best practices that I took away, and just wanna make sure that everybody feels like those were the things that we were supposed to take away. But Nancy was supportive of what I have been doing in creating sort of recaps about what we talked about and what our deliverables were, getting those to Curtis to send out to the entire committee. That way we're not relying and waiting on meeting notes that are official, and we actually, can move forward a little bit more quickly. As we all know, no communication between members directly about anything related to AAC business, so we use our good friend Curtis as our conduit for that. Meetings must be in public, noticed, minutes taken. We learned that when we were planning the event, that we could have additional meetings as long as the public was invited and knew that it was taking place and they could attend. And I think for future reference, because we are not necessarily a nonprofit like some of the other organizations are that are planning events, as long as we go in front of the council and ask for permission to do the event like we did this year, we should be fine in continuing that. Does any of that ring untrue? Oh, thank you, it's a
Yes.
lovely bracelet,
Can I
okay.
It
just
rings
add
true.
something to that, please?
Sure.
The town attorney, part of that discussion was that being on AAC, I could talk to someone on the audit committee about something the audit committee is working on or vice versa. I would say that with Murph working on the same issue, being dredging, it would probably be a good idea to maybe not speak off public record with a Murph committee member about.
That particular issue,
Yeah.
something that is crossing
No,
over.
it's not committee to committee though, it's within your committee. So if you're on Murph, you can't discuss the things that could potentially come up for a motion or discussion within that committee, but, you and I can have a discussion on whatever Murph is doing, because you're not on Murph.
As
Right,
long
but
as-
what I'm saying is it's the same issue. And
Maybe
I'm not an attorney, there's actually people that like me, but, I would just be careful about that.
As if it's, I think he's talking about the dredging specifically, because that is something that Murph talked about, and it's something that will probably be sort of an overlapping discussion. So if there is something that we think might come before the Murph committee, we probably shouldn't talk to another Murph committee member about dredging.
No,
Right?
do you see, are you following me, Jennifer?
No,
I
can
don't think
explain
she, I
better.
don't think she is, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think what he's, let's see if I can explain this a little bit better. I think what he's saying is he just wants to be cautious because say we do get involved with Murph and where me and Chad are
Can you
doing the
explain
dredge.
Get involved, what do you mean by get involved?
If we are working together on this dredging project, say whenever down the road that comes, right, and we're discussing it, same with Murph. He's saying he would be cautious to discuss that with Murph members because we are both handling the same project. You see what I'm saying? Does that make a little bit more?
Yes.
And we wouldn't want to influence
So
Murph's
how-
decision, and you wouldn't want to influence
So how
our
can I be
decision.
on this committee and Murph committee and we
Talk about the
discussed.
dredging, well, you're doing it
You just
publicly.
can't talk to yourself about this issue.
Darn it, I do that all the
No,
time, I'm in trouble.
So obviously, it's, it's exactly why I think Ed is was bringing this up, is just to be cautious, something to think about.
Right.
When that time rises. But I think you're kind of a loophole because you're on both.
Yeah.
You're on both
Well, and her
committees. So
discussions
you,
are-
you can discuss and talk about it with us here in the meeting. Same with Murph. It's the outside with members to members.
This is
and
in
that kind
public.
of thing.
Also,
Right,
this is public, this
Yeah.
is
Correct.
noticed, this follows all those guidelines.
Right.
So I obviously don't discuss anything with Murph outside of the meetings. And anything that is in this meeting, I do not discuss with any of you. I'm following sunshine law, so I'm just curious. I mean, that's just part of the sunshine law. I'm just wondering if maybe I'm still not understanding what the situation is.
I think it is a topic related thing, so I don't think Ed is saying, hey, we can never talk to a Murph committee member about turtles.
Yes.
But what he's saying is, if we're thinking about dredging, because you guys on the Murph committee have an opinion, you've brought something forward, you've made a motion, we're talking about it here, it might be challenging to have that conversation. Let's say I talked to Dave Nussbaum and said, hey, what are you guys doing about dredging?
Or your
That-
husband, who's my liaison.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to have a discussion with him,
Yeah, I
Is
shouldn't
that-
have talked to him again, I guess. No, I know, I totally get it. It gets very complicated.
We've
But
been
I
to
don't
two
think that's breaking
conversations here.
sunshine law.
Jennifer
That's what I'm
can't
trying
talk to
to-
herself.
I
and
know,
you
I can't
speak
talk to
with
my
Jen.
husband, so.
I just don't think that's breaking sunshine
Okay,
law. I
okay.
think that may be a question for the attorney, but I
Sure.
really don't think, because you're not on
Right.
the town council, however, and he's not even your liaison.
Right.
So maybe talking to Jim Adderhole about it might be what is that, did that?
Quasi judicial?
Ooh,
Mhm.
you are smart, yeah. So that might be an issue, but I think, well, I have to talk to myself because
Yes.
I'm on the Murph and
Right.
I'm on Anchorage, but I believe that you can have a conversation with another Murph member,
Okay.
Mr. Nussbaum or something like that. I don't think that's breaking sunshine law, but
Okay.
who am I to say?
I think they're right about, you need to be careful because we may be voting on the exact same thing that they're voting on.
Right.
I think
So,
that's
Adderall?
definitely a hard line.
That's
I
a
think
great
they're-
intellectual question, and I've listened to both sides here, and I'm leaning with you on that, Jennifer, but at the same time, I'm not,
Question for the town attorney.
I'm not an attorney, and
Yeah.
it's a good question, and hopefully we can also get to the core of this and figure out jurisdictionally who's best to handle these types of issues. Again, it doesn't matter to me who wins, we ought to have some direction as
Yes.
to who does what.
You know, we could also, whenever the topic comes up and we want to, as a committee, we want to, have some, input in, the decision, any decision or any, maybe a joint meeting.
That would
might
be another
Yeah.
good way to
the best
address
way
it,
to
yeah.
go about
Yeah.
Yeah.
it, that way it's just cut, clear, and
Yep.
I've gotta go.
Okay, all right. A couple more things. Public records law, just a reminder that if you get any requests for public records, whether that is in writing or orally, we would pass those along to Amy Baker to complete those. Probably a good idea to CC Curtis on that.
Please do.
Remember that communication on your private device about AAC business is discoverable. It is, your device may be yours, but the stuff that's on it, and if you're talking about AAC business, that could be used, so be judicious. Voting conflicts, make sure you're not voting on anything where you or relatives might be in a position to lose or gain. And I think that was it. So that's what I took away. Okay, any other member comments?
And as I understand it, Madam Chair, any conversations that the committee has with me outside the committee is okay,
Okay,
That's the way I
regarding
understood it,
the Anchorage
Okay.
Advisory Committee. Yeah,
Okay.
that's always been my understanding, yeah.
too. Or Curtis.
Or
yes.
Curtis, yeah, that's right.
Public comment, anyone?
Motion to adjourn?
Nope, we can't do
Oh,
that yet.
not yet?
we have to set the next meeting's agenda.
Yes.
Right.
But so close, Sam. So here's what I have for next meeting, and first of all, I'd like to say that, I'm willing to attend the council meeting on May 5th, just to give a wrap-up of how the event went.
Okay.
So I would like to get, the information from you, Sam, through Curtis, as to where
How
we
much we paid.
actually came up, with our meals,
Sure.
and then, Curtis can give us a financial replay, and then I can share with council and thank them
If you're
for all
gonna,
their
if you're
support.
gonna, if you're gonna come before the council, and you may be planning on doing this anyways, because we do have a lot of people who watch those meetings, nice opportunity to recognize our sponsors and
Yep,
those who donated all the
absolutely.
prizes, that'd be
Yep.
great.
Yep, I will provide a fact sheet.
But I mean,
Um,
when you say it at the mic, then the sponsors get some
Okay,
love,
yes,
you know what I
absolutely.
mean? Yeah.
I can do that. That'll be like my recitation where Ed Ryan says, oh, God, she's doing a Jim Hatter Holt and she's reading all of this stuff, so, but I will do
You
it.
get accused of granularism.
I
Yeah.
will do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You're famous. Any publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah.
Well, I used to think that.
But if you read it as fast as Ed,
Yeah, I will zip right through it.
Well, I have a comment on that. I just like to say, Jim, when you give those detailed reports, you go fast, and like the Santini thing, you go fast. It's off the subject, but you go fast and you give all the information that everybody wants to hear. So thank you for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So what I'm suggesting for the next meeting is, can we start sort of doing this level setting on where we are, where we're going, based on information I've gotten from Ted and information from Curtis. We have those different statutes-ish or plans where our responsibilities are outlined, but we're really not sure which one of those is right or current. So what I would like to do is create a document that says, here's from the land lease agreement, here's from the mooring plan, here's the things that we think are probably important for us to have as responsibilities, and that way we can create one sort of trued up document.
You're
that-
talking about for the ordinances, the resolution
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything? Okay,
yep.
yes, that sounds great.
So we can say, okay, and is it any of this really necessary by statute, or was that just something that was put in there? We know that we need to have a committee to have a land lease, so that is important to know. But are the responsibilities necessarily legally bound, or can we determine what we want our responsibilities to be in accordance to supporting the town? So I'd like to put that together, and then maybe we can have a little bit of a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats discussion, and talk about key deliverables for the rest of this year and into 2026, and certainly dredging and the dinghy dock and some of those other things that are going on now will be on that list.
And ready for one more suggestion?
Sure, Em?
Could we possibly, since the arches will be theoretically heard on the 5th and the 19th, if it does pass, and it looks like even if we have to move our meeting to Tuesday, it would be after those, would it be possible to have Frankie appear before us and just give us an update as to what that new synergy is between the mooring facilities and the arches project, if any?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. I just think it'd be good to, I think the public would find that interesting, and obviously germane to our purposes here, and quite honestly, I'm interested, particularly when it's all said and done, what that outcome is.
And do you think, Curtis, that this would be something that Mr. Yazo would be interested in listening to, our discussion about our roles and responsibilities?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
if-
Yeah, I can bring him in on that
Okay.
for the harbor management team,
Okay.
breaking all that down, because he's gonna have to we're gonna have to add the emergency response
Right.
part to that too, so yes, I will ask if
Okay.
he will attend for that.
Okay, and I will check with Amy after this to see about what date we will have our meeting on. I'm assuming because May 26th is Memorial Day, as you guys have pointed out, we'll probably move it to Tuesday, if that works for everybody, but,
Yeah, we I feel like last year all of our meetings fell on all the holidays.
Yeah,
So
right.
we need to do a better job of
Right.
looking at that and not having that
Right.
happen, you know.
okay. So does that sound good with everybody?
Yeah, so Curtis will just send out as soon as we know
Yep.
when there's an opening.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I will send out a recap of what we talked about today, and it will have our date on it.
Okay, can we get that, I mean,
Yes.
sooner rather
Yeah,
than
she'll
later?
send that
Because-
whenever she gets it to me. I'll send it out to
Yeah.
all y'all, and then we will Amy will let us know what extra dates are
Yep,
available.
I'll go talk to her
Okay.
now.
Sam, I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Nay, all right, it is 10:30 and we are adjourned. Thank you so much.